All right. Well, hey, Kristen. And again, I have a couple other friends whose name is Kirsten, and I'm constantly struggling not to call you Kirsten. So I apologize if I do that. I actually think I did it on the podcast. I don't know if you caught that, but I'm so sorry.
No worries.
So for those of you who are watching right now, Kristen and I did a podcast. It's episode number 29. You can find it at the Pieces of Grit website, and I'll put a link in the description for this video. But today we're going to follow up to our interview and do some product reviews. I'm really excited to kind of dig into the specifics of different types of products, their uses, and how to choose quality products, because the market is inundated. So I'm just going to show you, I won't even get up close, but so this little product, it's called Theramu, and I've had it for probably 3 years. And so my friend worked for this company, and it was really before it became popular, and people were hesitant to purchase it. And so they were just slightly ahead of their time. But it was really expensive because there just weren't a lot of products like this out there. And now you can walk into any health food store, at least in California, and there are a bazillion products, and it's so overwhelming. So I'm just going to hand it to you, Kristen, and let you start talking, and I might jump in with some questions.
Sounds good. Awesome. Yeah, it can be overwhelming when you go to the store, and especially when you're first getting started, what am I supposed to look for? How do I know what's best for me? So that's a lot of what I like to talk about at Hempsley. So the first thing to consider is your kind of method of consumption that you want to be going for. How quickly do you need the effects to onset? Are you dealing with more acute or chronic issues? If you're dealing with more acute issues, doing something like a topical balm for pain relief, or doing a tincture for acute onset anxiety or stress, that can be really helpful. If you're looking for more chronic relief, capsules can be a really effective way to dose consistently over a long period of time to see if it can benefit you in that way. And then there's also inhalation. So we don't always recommend smoking, because smoking can produce hydrocarbons that can negatively interact with lots of antidepressants and create some other issues in the body. But we do recommend vaporizing.
Wait, can I ask? So why would inhaling it be different than taking it in capsule or tincture form?
Yeah, great question. So whenever you inhale, it can absorb through the lungs and have an onset period of just 1 to 3 minutes. So as opposed to even a tincture, whenever you put it under your tongue, it can take up to 15 to 45 minutes to take effect. The inhalation, because it can reach the bloodstream more quickly through the lungs, it's going to have a faster onset time.
Okay.
And then mucosal form of delivery would be the next step up from that. So with tinctures, they just have to absorb through the mucous membranes in the mouth to be able to take effect. It enters the bloodstream more quickly. It doesn't have to go through the digestive process. So it just takes about 15 to 45 minutes to take effect. But capsules would be the next step up. And capsules can take anywhere from 1 to 2 hours to take effect, because they actually have to be digested and metabolized by the body. So because of that whole process, it can take longer to take effect, but it lasts for 6 to 8 hours. The effects do. So because it's undergoing a different process and it becomes more distributed throughout the entire body, it has different types of effects.
So if that lasts 6 to 8 hours, how long do the other forms last?
Yeah, so tinctures usually last about 2 to 4 hours. But tinctures are great because you can redose pretty easily. If I have taken a tincture in the morning for my morning anxiety, and then I have some more anxiety throughout the day, I can dose again relatively safely, and not have to worry about it's going to take another 2 hours to set in, like a capsule if I were to take that. So it's a little bit easier to tell if it's working for you too, if you're dealing with more chronic or more acute issues, more acute issues that are more pinpointed. Like I tend to get a lot of anxiety before a presentation per se. So I will always take some tincture before a presentation and allow my body to calm down in that way. If I have kind of a panic attack come on, I really like using vaporizers because it is so fast. And I can instantly come back to my breath. Vaporizing also helps you reconnect with your breath. And the vaporizers that we carry at Hempsley are actually been blended with essential oils as well. And essential oils can be great for calming the nervous system and supporting the endocannabinoid system, as well as lots of other systems too.
Now, do you know, you said that sometimes vaporizing or inhaling can interact with medication for like depression or anxiety. What are some of the side effects that you're aware of when it does have a negative interaction?
Absolutely. So it can actually cause antidepressants to not work correctly in your body and cause them to, not be effective. And so some people who are smoking for their depression or anxiety, it can actually have a counterintuitive effect, counterbalance what your medication is doing for you, and be more harmful than helpful. So vaporizing, on the other hand, from smoking, smoking creates an actual combustion that happens where you ignite the cannabis and actually a flame takes place. But vaporizing just warms plant material enough to release the beneficial compounds without creating that harmful combustion. So it can be with CBD, it can be with essential oils, it can be with other herbs. All of these types of inhalation methods can be really rapid modes of delivery without actually having to create that harmful combustion. But whenever you're shopping for vaporizers, you do want to make sure that you are getting a vaporizer that's not heating above the point of combustion. It's a fine line with vaporizing. So making sure that it is indeed still not being combusted, actually vaporized, and then the materials that it's in are safe. A lot of vaporizers are made from cheap plastics, and oils can leach toxins from the plastics, and then you can be inhaling that, which is a problem, obviously. So making sure that you are using high quality products is also key.
What are some of the brands of vaporizers that you recommend or that you sell on your website?
So the ones that we sell at Hempsley are from Wildflower. So these are little disposable vaporizers. They do have a rechargeable battery kit now as well. So these are available. They are actually dosed. So whenever you inhale, it'll blink after you've had a certain milligram of dose. It's about 2.5 milligrams. And that way you can recreate the experience, getting the same amount every time, making sure that you're creating a consistent effect. And they have 2 different ones that are blended with other essential oils, like I mentioned. So the immunity is blended with eucalyptus, thyme, and myrrh. So it's really beneficial for supporting the immune system. It's called the immunity blend. And then they've got an aches pen that is blended with lavender, peppermint, and spearmint. So it's really refreshing. Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
It's great. Both have been really great for my allergies with allergy season right now. And, especially if I'm having chronic upper back pain or it's my menstrual cycle, the aches one can be really helpful for those. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. I never would have thought of that it would work for allergies.
Right? I know. It's fun. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Other things. So as far as, tinctures are probably the most common item to get started with. That's usually what we recommend because you can just start with about 10 to 15 milligrams, put it under your tongue, hold it for about 30 minutes, or hold it for as long as you can, but wait about 30 minutes. And if you haven't had the effects that you're looking for, you can do another 10 milligrams, wait about 30 minutes, and just spend a few hours really giving your attention to it, really trying to check in with how you feel. Because it doesn't take 2 hours, with capsules, I tend to, swallow a capsule and go about my day. And later on, I'll notice, I think I feel calmer, but it's hard to know if it was directly connected to
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, what should you be looking for? Or does it depend on what you're trying to treat? Because I think what I first started with was, a CBD oil that I could ingest, so tincture if you want to call it that. And I remember taking it the first time, and I was a good girl. I held it under my tongue for as long as I could. I don't think it was 30 minutes. And then I was like, okay, like I'm so ready to feel like some massive relief or relaxation. And I didn't really sense anything. So what should people look for when they're trying it for the first time?
Yeah, so it kind of depends what you're using it for, like you said, but whenever it comes to general anxiety and just stress, just feeling an overall more sense of calm, relaxation, it can just help with balance because it supports this endocannabinoid system, like we talked about in the first podcast. just supports the endocannabinoid system and rebalancing the rest of the body. So it's not necessarily this instant rebalancing. There's some stuff that has to work itself out, and maybe check in with yourself after 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and just try to do an assessment. Like, if I rated my stress on a scale of 1 to 10 as an 8 before, how am I honestly feeling now? And it may not be that you're at a 0 or a 1. Maybe you're just at a 6, but that's still some benefit there. And so, especially for the first time, okay, my anxiety was at an 8, and I tried using the CBD. It's been 30 minutes. I'm maybe at a 7 now. It came down 1 point. Okay, well, I'm going to try another 10 milligrams and see how that works for me in the next 30 minutes. And just try to honestly assess how it's impacting you, and then take note of how many milligrams is kind of your sweet spot. And then you can use that to start the next time and see how that affects you. And it's just an easier way to find your sweet spot of dosing and what's going to work for you. Now, if you're using it for chronic issues, so if you have chronic pain or just overall general anxiety, using it consistently for 1 to 2 weeks is really going to be the best way to be able to assess if it's helping you over a longer period of time. And you do want to be consistent with it, just like with any other supplement or medication, using it in a consistent manner every single day. So if you're going to do it in the mornings, take 15 milligrams in the morning. Make sure to stick to that for 1 to 2 weeks, and then take a general assessment of how am I feeling overall. And with some people, their endocannabinoid levels are okay, and it's not necessarily going to work for you. And that's kind of the hard part about it. There's definitely a learning curve, not only with finding your dose, but then which products are going to work best for me as well. Is it going to be the capsules that are more consistent, or is it going to be the tincture that I can use more on the fly?
It kind of sounds like, so my husband takes B shots, and it sounds amazing to me. And so I've taken them at times. I've felt a boost of energy and doing what you think vitamin B is going to do. And then other times I've had him give me a shot and I don't feel anything, and I'm so disappointed. So it kind of sounds that's a little bit of what you're saying, because the B shots work if you're deficient, and then it helps your body. But if you already have enough, you're probably not going to see a lot of benefit. So is that kind of the same thing with using CBD? Okay.
Exactly. And it, CBD also just slows the breakdown of our own endocannabinoids so that we can use more of what we're naturally producing. And so there comes a point whenever CBD can't slow things anymore, and you're just taking in extra that you don't necessarily need. It's not benefiting you, and it's not harming you, but your body's just going to excrete it through your urine. It's not going to be beneficial in that way. And so that goes for everybody's going to be different too, because everybody's endocannabinoid levels are at a different level. Mm-hmm. And so what's going to be a good 15 milligrams for me, it may not be for you.
Now for women, does that change as we go through our cycle, or your endocannabinoid, is that going to be pretty steady, whether it's at a healthy or an unhealthy level?
There's not a whole lot of research about it yet, but I know from my experience, I definitely feel that I am more endocannabinoid deficient around my actual period. And so taking more CBD during that time has really been beneficial for me. And I've heard lots of reports of that. There's no conclusive research yet that I can point towards. So.
All right. Cool. Well, let's get into some products. Show us some stuff.
Okay. So as far as tinctures, since that's usually what we tell people to start with, whenever you go to the store, there's probably going to be a bazillion tinctures. And so figuring out what dose you want to start with is always good. And then looking at, do you want something that is more versatile, more targeted? So we'll get into that. So first off, I think starting with a bottle that's around 450, 500 milligrams is usually pretty good. You can make sure that you are getting enough in the bottle to truly see if it works that way. Even if you take up to 30 milligrams a day, that's still a whole week's supply at least. And so that gives you a good idea of, is it working for me? There's going to be bottles that range all the way from 100 milligrams to 1500 milligrams. So that can be overwhelming in and of itself. Choosing something between the 300 to 600 mark is going to be a good idea. Just for price-wise, and that way you're not over-investing in a 1,500 milligram product, because those are usually over $100, and then you're not, totally getting screwed over by a 100 milligram bottle where it's like 30 cents a milligram where you could be paying 12 cents a milligram.
Now, do you feel like the old adage, you get what you pay for, applies to this? If something seems to be more expensive, does that insinuate that it's a better quality?
Not necessarily. It really, within a brand especially, looking at the cost per milligram. So as it goes up, because there was one brand we looked at where, it was 28 cents a milligram for their lowest bottle. And then when you got to their highest bottle, it was about 8 cents a milligram. And that's quite a big jump there. And that's a red flag for me, because it doesn't seem very honest in pricing, for one. But definitely you're not necessarily, just because this one's way more expensive doesn't necessarily mean that it's better than the 100 milligram product. Okay. So yeah, that's a great question. But generally, if it seems too good to be true, there's definitely that rule still applies. Okay. It probably is. So whenever you're looking at products on the shelf, it can be really difficult to tell what's going to be the best. When it comes to tinctures, there's lots of different ways to create a tincture. At Hempsley, we use CO2 extractions and lipid infusions. So to extract CBD from the hemp plant, typically there's some kind of solvent used. So whether that's ethanol, butane, CO2, something has to be used to extract. Now, with ethanol and butane and some other extraction methods, it can leave residual solvents in the product. So that could mean that there might be butane in your bottle of tincture. It may be less than, what has to be able to put it on the shelf, but it's still in there. For me, that can be of concern. Now, CO2 products are going to leave no residual solvents. So they use a solvent to extract CO2, but then it leaves a really clean end product. Then there's lipid infusions. So lipid infusions actually don't use any solvents. They just put the whole plant into a big vat of oil and use low heat, low pressure over a really long period of time to infuse. It's the most gentle and arguably the most natural product. Now, with lipid infusions, you want to make sure that you have a really high quality starting product, of course, because if your actual hemp has any molds, pesticides, things of that nature, that's all going to be infused with the product as well. So when it comes
I've seen you share a really good graphic on social media, so if people want to even see this visually, it's what you see on that graphic is the color, and the darker one is the better one, right?
Right.
Oh, there you go.
So you can see this one's much clearer and this one's much darker in my face.
Yeah, definitely see that.
Yeah, and the darker just means that it's retained a lot more phytonutrients. A lot less has been destroyed in that process of extraction because you weren't using a solvent. So a lot of the full range of cannabinoids and the terpenes all get retained in there for a broader spectrum and more powerful end product. So, CO2 extraction is definitely one of the hotter products. There's not a whole lot of lipid infusions on the market right now. CO2 is kind of taking dominance. So, and CO2 isn't bad. If your market only has CO2 extracted products, I would say go for it. It's, a lot of people really love it. I find personally that the lipid infusion is more effective, but also this isn't flavored. This is just MCT oil and hemp. Okay. And it tastes like it. It tastes very earthy, planty. My mom can't stand it. She has to go the CO2 route. And we carry 2 of Wildflower's tinctures. One is tropical flute flavored and one is orange mint flavored. And so not only do they have the CO2 extraction, but then a little bit of natural flavoring to just help enhance the experience. And people love having that. And it's really easy to mix into, your granola or add to your smoothie, things of that nature. So it makes it a little bit more fun. And my mom really enjoys the taste as opposed to the other that she despises. So
that's cool. I know, that's funny. The one that I got was not flavored. And so it really was just like putting a piece of hemp rope under your tongue for like 10 minutes, which doesn't really bother me. I'm not a foodie. And so I just do and consume things because they're good for you or whatever. So I was like, yeah, I'll just take it.
Too funny. Awesome. So that's kind of the spiel about tinctures. Now, whenever you're shopping for a tincture, I would always make sure that it's in a dark colored bottle. If somebody's putting their stuff in a clear bottle, that's usually a red flag to me that they don't know what they're doing, because you would never put a light sensitive essential oil, CBD, other health and wellness product into a clear bottle that could be exposed to UV rays. So that's a red flag. And then really looking at, do they have lab reports is a really big one too. It can be hard in store. Some bottles will actually have codes on them or links to where you can find the lab reports really easily. Most companies don't, and you kind of have to go on the website, do a little digging. Sometimes you got to email the company, which can seem tedious, but at the end of the day, I think that it's a good investment in your health and your time. Now, anything we carry at Hempsley, we've vetted all the lab reports and everything for everyone, which is something that we saw a need for in the industry, but we can't do that with everybody. And what's local for you may not be something that we carry. So,
Sure. Well, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. Just make sure that you're doing the work, doing the legwork. If not for you, find somebody else who has looked at lab reports. So,
yeah, cool.
Yeah. And then we talked about vaporizers, capsules. We do carry some capsules from Wildflower. They are 30 milligrams each. So 30 milligrams is a pretty typical dose for capsules. One thing that is getting more talked about recently is bioavailability of different kinds of products. So, cannabinoids are fat soluble, so they bind to fat, and that's how they're best absorbed by our body. Whenever we take them in tincture form or in capsule form, they're almost always in some kind of carrier oil because that helps it be better absorbed by our bodies, more bioavailable for them. Now, whenever it's put under your tongue or a mucous membrane, it bypasses that digestive system and is a little bit more bioavailable than if you were to take a capsule that becomes digested, and then some of that stuff is going to get lost in the digestion process. More will get lost in capsules than in tinctures, but at least with THC, we know that whenever it's digested, it becomes more powerful. It changes a little bit. There's not a whole lot of research about CBD in that yet, but I find that even when I take capsules, it's just as potent for me as whenever I'm taking a tincture. So
are the capsules, is there oil already in there, or do you have suggestions on different types? Should you take it with food or, I don't know, like a little bit of olive oil or something?
There's oil in the capsule,
okay.
A little veggie capsule, but I do recommend eating it with fatty foods. So make yourself some avocado toast, whatever you need to do to make sure that it's going down with some more fatty foods. It's just going to be better processed.
Which, another plug, because you have some recipes on your website, right? So people can go and find some fatty food recipes to put their oil on.
Yes, I should make a category, fatty food recipes.
There you go, fatty food. Yeah, I think everyone would want to go there. Fatty food, who doesn't love that?
Yeah, healthy fatty food too.
Exactly.
So that covers capsules. And then the last big topic is kind of topicals, which is going to include anything that's applied directly to the surface of the skin. So lotions, balms, creams, sprays, salves, all that good stuff. And at Hempsley, we carry a few different topicals. Our most mild is the Kiskanu Skin Rub. And this has St. John's wort, comfrey, and lavender. And it's a really liquidy kind of texture. I don't know if you can see I'm moving around in there. But it is just really, really soothing, really silky texture. I'll put it on my sore neck and shoulders. We had one of our review team members have a lot of success with her eczema using it.
Oh.
And I find that it is a great moisturizer for, skin irritations. I'm excited to use it with bug bites coming up. That lavender can be really soothing.
Cool.
I find that some people have had success with joint pain. It's one of our more popular products for joint pain, specifically arthritis, things of that nature, because our other products have more minty essential oils in them. And so whenever you have that on your hands and you're touching your face, it can become a problem. So this doesn't have any of those minty essential oils in it.
So how many milligrams of CBD is in that little jar?
So in here, there's 250 milligrams.
Okay. Because that's been one of my big questions. The internal dosing, like I kind of get that, 10 milligrams to me is like a starting point for various things. And so anyway, that just makes sense. But when I've gone to the store and I'm looking at lotions or other topical applications, I just don't even know, because it's a little bit of what you were saying, like some products might have 100, or something that's maybe even close to the same size has twice as much. And I don't want to waste my money on something that's really like so weak that it's not going to do anything.
Right. Yeah. And it's definitely a learning curve with figuring out what topicals work well for you, because, this is a 2-ounce jar with the 250 milligrams. And then we've got a 15 milliliter jar with 180 milligrams. So really that is pretty comparable when you do the math and break it down. That's what this guy looks like. But yeah, figuring out, there's usually a general baseline that you can go based off of, and then there's going to be double strength things. And that's kind of the case with Wildflower products. They've got a cool stick and a healing stick, and one has 100 milligrams while the other has 160 milligrams. So it is a big jump in that CBD. And, CBD is really great for inflammation, skin irritations. And so deciding, especially, it's great if you can test them. We have that available in our office, but obviously you can't do that online.
Yeah.
But be able to test, okay, if I put this on this shoulder and this on this shoulder, which one is giving me a little bit more relief? And that could be the essential oils or the CBD. So kind of, it is just a learning curve, playing with what works for you.
Awesome. Yeah.
So after the Kiskini product, we do have the Papaya and Berkeley Balm, and this is made with that same lipid infusion process. This is going to be lavender, tea tree, and peppermint, so it's a little bit more bitey than just the lavender, comfrey, and St. John's wort.
Yeah.
But it's also a thicker texture, if you can kind of see in there. It's a thicker balm. A lot of people use it as lip balm. People were raving about it for that. And then just aches, pains, soothing, tense neck and shoulders, things like that. It's great for.
What is that mixed with to give it the thicker consistency?
Yeah, so it's coconut oil, beeswax, and hemp oil.
Awesome.
So
yeah, I like a little tea tree oil. I know that the scent is a little strong for some people. One time I say sometimes I'm trying to switch my household cleaners out and go more natural, and my husband hates the smell of tea tree oil. He was ready to move out if I didn't stop using that. So I had to tone it down just a little.
Too funny.
Yeah. And I like the feel of something thicker. I don't know, I guess some people want it lighter so you don't really feel it on your skin. But
Right.
To me, I like knowing that it's there. So bring the little tube that I had. It's I'd say probably a medium consistency, but I like that it's thicker. Yeah.
Yeah, it leaves kind of a waxy coating on your hands, so it encapsulates more. As I'm washing my hands through the day, I notice that they don't get as dried out. So
Nice.
Yeah. And then the Wildflower Sticks, and they've got these in the small size and the large size. So the large size has 300 milligrams and 500, and then they've got these little guys, because this guy's $60, and it was a hard sell. People want to be able to try a topical first, and now we've got all kinds of people that have started with the small guy for 25, and they keep coming back for the big guy. So
that's funny. Yeah.
Because it is definitely the most powerful as far as anti-inflammatories go of the topicals we have. It kind of acts like an icy hot, where it has a really intense cooling effect. So if you have an acute pain, acute injury, it can be really, really beneficial for that. And this is honestly the only topical I found that really works for my cramps during my menstrual cycle.
Oh.
Yeah, the others are nice and calming, relaxing. They smell nice, but at the end of the day, I'm still feeling it all going on down there.
Right.
This I put on, and it's so cooling that it really kind of just numbs it.
Oh.
And I don't notice it as much. So
what's the name of that one?
It's a cool stick from Wildflower.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to have to try that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So anything to help me get through the day or two.
Right. So it's been really beneficial for that. And a lot of people rub it on their heads for headaches. Now, again, it has menthol, peppermint.
So I was going to ask if it had menthol. Okay.
It does. And that arnica, wintergreen. So it's a powerful blend of essential oils, really great for inflammation, but be careful around your eyes. And this is kind of the way that it's packaged. It's meant not to be used with the hands. It's meant to just be rubbed on, kind of like a push pop style. That way you don't have to get it on your hands and worry about touching your face. But some people have found a lot of success with headaches. My aunt puts it across her forehead when she feels one coming on, and she says it stops them in her tracks, around the temples. But do be careful, because it can waft into the eyes. So,
Yes, I would imagine. I want to back up for a second. You mentioned one of the products being good for like bug bites.
Uh-huh.
And unfortunately, so mosquitoes are a new thing in San Diego. This is not something that we've had forever. It just started last year. Somehow they made it into our cute little town. And so I know some people who are not necessarily allergic, but they have a pretty bad reaction to bug bites. And so with summer coming up, what was it that you mentioned that is good to kind of soothe that?
Yeah, so CBD in general is fantastic. I'll actually make my own little rollers with the, where did it go here? Papa and Berkeley. So the, it's right here. With this guy, since it's just MCT oil and hemp, you can actually use it topically. So you can add it to your own skincare products, like massage oil, lip balm, all kinds of good stuff. So I'll actually put this in a little roller with some peppermint and lavender essential oil and keep it on me to roll on. But if you are looking at other products, anything with lavender or peppermint. So originally I had said the Kiskanu guy because it's got the lavender and it's just a really calming, silky, smooth texture. But if you were to have this guy too, this would be great because it's got the mint as well as the CBD for helping calm that inflammation and skin irritation.
Cool. Now, what about animals? I don't know if you carry anything on your website for animals, but I had a friend recently who was moving and her dog had so much anxiety and was like getting sick and just freaking out. So I told her, I was like, you should go to the pet store or like the health food store in your neighborhood because I know they have products for animals, but I don't have any animals. So what do you know about that?
Yeah, so a lot of the animal products out there are actually the same products as we have for humans, just branded differently. Okay. So a lot of the things out there for animals are safe for you to ingest, and a lot of the things out there for humans are safe for animals to ingest. So we don't have any pet-specific products, but our Papa and Berkeley tincture you can use with animals. It's just MCT oil and hemp. So, you know, the ones that are specific to pets that I've seen, they have catnip in them or something else that's going to make them a little bit more appealing to the pet. But at the core of it, it's the MCT oil and hemp that's a really beneficial thing. So, you know, we typically recommend for humans to start between 1 and 5 milligrams per 10 pounds of body weight as a dose. With animals, it's usually between 0.5 or I think 0.25 and 1 milligrams per 10 pounds.
Okay.
So for like my little Yorkie poos, I usually give them about 1 milligram at a time because they're about.
And you have them ingest that. You don't like rub it on their neck or anything.
Right. And so I'll add it to food. You know, if there's a piece of bread, I'll put it on the piece of bread. I know some people, a lot of the directions say to hold their mouth open and put it under their tongue. I don't know how that's possible. If you can do it, fantastic.
That's what I was gonna say. I don't know anyone with a dog who would sit there and do that. Be like, sure, I'll just like hang out with my mouth open and
exactly.
That's ridiculous.
For a while, I'd kind of hold the dropper up and like dispense it slowly and they'd lick it up thinking it was a treat, but I think they decided they didn't like the taste. So they stopped coming back for it. So I have to put it in bread again. Yeah.
Yeah, that is so funny. Okay, so out here in California, I don't know if you're in Missouri, right?
Yep.
Okay. So now you can go into some coffee shops and you can get a latte that's infused with CBD. If I'm going to pay extra for that, I want to know like what's in it. So should I be asking for the amount, the dosage, or should I spend the time asking the barista about the quality? Like, again, I don't know if this is something you can do in Missouri, but it's new. And so anyway, I think it's great. I just don't necessarily want to spend my money unless I know what I'm getting.
Right. No, that's a very fair point because there's a lot of coffee shops out there that are just adding a tincture or a powder to coffee afterwards. And, you know, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but what I would want to know what the company they're adding things from is, and do a little bit of research on the company. The barista's probably not going to know unless it's a really nice coffee shop and they've really educated her. But I would ask what the name of the company that is providing the CBD is and do, a quick Google search, see what other people have to say about this company, see if they do have some lab reports online, and look at how their product was made. A lot of times the website will tell you how products are made because people are very proud of their extraction processes. So Is it that CO2 extraction, or is it another process? And if it's another process, just being leery of, is it going to have those residual solvents? That's a possibility.
Yeah. So. With the boom of the industry, do we now have to be careful or wary of plants that are grown organically or not? Is that on labels? Are most companies going organic? I have no idea.
So technically, no cannabis plants, hemp included, can be classified as organic because they're not technically recognized still under, the person who assigns organic to things. Okay. So it's not technically recognized by that institution at this point. So people who are doing organic farming practices, you just you have to be able to trust the company enough to know, okay, and have done enough research to know that they are indeed doing what they say. Because there isn't somewhere that anybody can submit to yet that will accept any kind of cannabis plant to be able to put the official, USDA organic certified on that label.
Okay. Of course, without any names, have you run across any companies that are using any kind of chemicals or whatever to handle, to use as pesticides or to increase the growing rate?
I've heard about it with marijuana plants. I haven't heard anything specifically with hemp plants, but I'm sure if it's happening with marijuana, it's got to be with hemp as well.
True. Yeah. I mean, it's all about money, right? The faster you can grow it, faster money gets in your pocket. So,
well, and CO2 extraction, I believe, can actually take some of those things out in the process.
Okay.
So, while that's fantastic, I still want to know if the original product had those things in it. Because I think a lot of companies are kind of, okay, we can grow with these things, but then CO2 extraction is going to rid our product of these things. And so they're kind of taking shortcuts in the beginning stages.
Got it. Yeah. That makes total sense. Is there anything else that you carry on your website or want to tell people about before we wrap up?
Well, we've got lots of educational materials. We've got little bundles of shareable informational materials. So if you are somebody who gets really passionate about how CBD has helped you and you want to share, we do have just really cheap things that you can even just print out yourself as little informational materials to share with the people in your life. We've got little advocacy bundles that you can order and share. And then we've also got other print materials. If you want to get started with healing herbs, we've got a whole kit that has reference cards for 8 different herbs, cannabis included, but also chamomile, rose, lavender, rosemary, all sorts of different things, so you can really start incorporating that knowledge into your life. And then we've got some herbal blends that can all be made into a tea, added to a bath, or smoked or vaporized. So if you are starting to get more into the natural healing modalities, we've got lots of things that we can offer you besides just CBD, although CBD is our focus.
That's awesome. Now, I know that locally you are involved in doing education classes and training. Do you do anything online, whether it's recorded on your website or any kind of live webinar type things?
So we do run e-courses. We've got an app. And so we upload all of our ebooks there, but they're originally published on Instagram. So if you follow us on Instagram stories, we will host little e-courses, is what we call them, where we go through the endocannabinoid system, terpenes, just walk you through so you can go at your own pace, pause and pick up where you left off, as well as download the app and have it for reference in your pocket at all times.
And you are Hempsley Health on Instagram, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. I will be sure that I put that in the description for this video. And this has been so much fun. I'm glad we were able to do a follow-up and go a little deeper with some of these specific products. It has helped me so much, and I can't wait. I've already forgotten the name, but I am going to get one of those sticks. I cannot wait. I'm so excited.
They're awesome.
All right. Well, we will definitely keep up and stay in touch, and can't wait to follow you more on Hempsley Health and see what comes up this year.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.